Hi, this is Bishop Bob. It's good to be with you again. Last time I was with you, I talked about enjoying the journey. In that teaching, I wrote that the first thing you need to enjoy the journey is your quiet time with God daily. Continue to build a relationship with Him. Then I wrote about the trap of being so task-oriented that you ignore and hurt the people around you. Remember, ministry is all about people. Third, I said we need to get godly input in making decisions, while remembering that as a leader, you're responsible for the decision that is made. So if you make a wrong decision, admit it, correct it, and move on. Fourth, I wrote about critics. All leaders receive criticism, and all of us must listen to constructive criticism. The reason you receive criticism is because leaders do something. And when you're doing something, somebody will criticize you. Fourth, lastly, I wrote about our relationship with our spouses. Spouses are a helpmate, and as with our relationship with Christ, we must intentionally continue to build an intimate relationship with them and not take them for granted. To continue with the teaching today, I'd like to start with children. Ephesians 6:4 says, "You fathers, do not provoke your children to wrath, but bring them up in the training and admonition of the Lord." Take time to let your children know that they're important to you. Satan likes to attack us at our weakest spot, and that a lot of time is our children. It's important that we keep a balance between ministry and family life. One of the guidelines for using your time, the biblical timeline, is to first your relationship with Jesus Christ, keep that fresh daily. Second is your family needs, the physical, emotional, and spiritual needs. And then lastly, you spend your time in ministry. Get those out of whack, you're going to have some problems. Many children whose parents are in full-time ministry feel that their parents are more concerned about others than them. So make sure if you make a promise to them that you keep it. Remember, what we do speaks louder than what we say. Next, you need to take time for yourself. Mark 6:30-32, the disciples had just come back from ministry, and Jesus says, "Let's come aside and rest." See, that scripture tells us that Jesus knew that after ministry, the disciples needed rest. If you keep giving out without receiving yourself, you will be burnt out and become ineffective. See, remember, what you put in will eventually come out. But if you're not putting anything in, it gets empty. Working 24/7 may sound very spiritual, but in reality, it's a religious thinking and Satan's way of burning you out before your time. Take time to refresh yourself. An interesting statistic I read was that 1 week's vacation adds 1 year to ministry. We must have some intimacy with our people that work with us. Leaders, need to know the needs of your people so that you can pray effectively for them. As leaders, you're responsible to pray for all your people. You cannot pray for them effectively if you don't take the time to know them and their families. Numbers. You do what God calls you to do, and He will add the numbers. Many people have unrealistic expectations. Americans are crazy about numbers. That's all they talk about, just numbers. Many people think that when they start the ministry, people are going to flock to the ministry. But in reality, it will take time for you to build a team that can minister effectively to the people that God's going to give you. Most overnight success, remember, take 10 to 15 years. But as you're faithful with little, God will continue to give much. Remember, it's about making disciples. God has sheep that will hear your voice. So I encourage you to take the time, money, and effort to make disciples and release them for ministry. Remember, sheep beget sheep, not shepherds. Too often we spend all our money and efforts trying to attract people to our church and neglect making disciples. Most of our efforts in trying to attract people to our church will bring in goats, not sheep that will hear your voice. Goats cause confusion and disunity. That's just a thought. Friends, you need to make friends with whom you can relax and not talk shop. Take time to cultivate friends that are trustworthy and who accept you for who you are. Ministry. As a leader, you're responsible to fulfill Ephesians 4:11 and 13. Fivefold ministry equips the believers for the work of the ministry. You must release others for ministry if you're going to grow. Their methods may be different from yours, but just as effective. However, there's one pitfall I want to caution you about, and that's what I call the Judas Complex. These are people who transfer into your ministry, who claim to identify with your vision, and seem to be mature Christians. Let them walk with you 6 months to a year before you put them in a leadership position. Why? Because you don't know what baggage they're bringing in with them. You also need to make sure that theology lines up with yours. Many ministries have been ruined because leaders laid hands on people who transferred their ministry too quickly. Communicate. One of the greatest tricks of Satan is to break communication between leaders and to break communication between leaders and their followers. It's a tool of war. Well, the first thing the enemy tries to do is break communication between the foot soldier and the general so that confusion reigns in the ranks. As leaders, we must allow each leader be candid with us and speak the truth in love. And as leaders, we need to keep the vision before the people so they know where we are leading them. Priorities. Stick to God's priority for the day. Set your priorities daily so you will spend your time wisely. If you don't control your time, someone else will, and you'll miss God's priorities for the day. Have a kingdom mentality. I encourage you to tithe into other ministries. Have a mission program that will encourage and help domestic and foreign ministries. God will bless back to you what you sow into others. When you invest in somebody else's dream, God will supply the resources for your dream. And always remember, God is first and the last. Everything begins with Him and ends with Him. You're not taking time to hear from God and to listen to that still small voice, you'll be frustrated and there will be no joy in your ministry. Next time, David Reinhardt will be our guest speaker. David will be sharing on new ministry that you are called to help in equipping your fellow TMSI ministers by sharing what books that have helped you in your ministry. This month's book I'm again recommending is Traveling Light by Max Lucado. Well, enjoy the journey and look forward to being with you next time. God bless.